In today's episode of Project Sacrifice, we automate two of the most important circuits in the game. With that being said, let's get into today's episode as it's full of despair and fun. In the last episode, we set up the industrial grade metal automation. Now, I did change it a little bit in the fact that we're keeping it in stock now through this detector. And what it's doing is it's basically seeing if it's underneath the amount of 50,000, basically give it a redstone signal, turning this back on and allowing it to import iron into the blood altar and then cycling it back through. And that's basically how I'm going to do it from now on, because we're going to need a bunch of them. Now, my plan today is hopefully going to be to make this Iridium circuit. Now, Iridium circuits are quite complicated to make. It requires a sequenced recipe, which is a problem because I don't really exactly know how I'm going to deal with this whole system. And it also then needs the previous tier and then the first tier, of course. Okay, so to get things going here, because we're going to need a lot of stuff, and I mean, we're going to need a lot of stuff. The first thing that we're going to need to automate, and it's very important that we get this done, is we're going to need the fuse is part of this whole like chain essentially. And without this, we can't make these circuits. So the fuse is actually relatively simple. It is just some industrial grade plates with some glass, which glass has EMC, so that's not a problem. And obviously we have 50,000 of these industrial grade metal plates. And I think the way I'm going to do this is I am going to use the mechanical crafter. I know, crazy. I'm going to use the mechanical crafter, and I think I'm going to do it over here. Now, I was also going to plan on automating soul lava. We're going to need it for sure, not right this second. So let's go ahead and start by taking some of our mechanical crafter, and let's go ahead and place them down, I guess in the corner like so. And what we'll go ahead and do is really simple. Make sure that these are all facing one direction like so. Is there a way that I can like make these lock together? Aha. So what you have to do is basically connect them through the backside like so. And now that these guys are all connected, what we can go ahead and do is get ourselves a cable and take some exporters. We're gonna need multiple exporters, and I believe we can also connect these guys together. So this guy and this guy, and all that's gonna do is basically give us the opportunity to take some exporters and connect 3 of them like so. And the top block is going to be glass, the bottom block is going to be glass, and then the other one in the middle will be your industrial plates like so. And all we're going to do is this, and of course we're going to put this here and connect that bad boy up to some refined storage, which hopefully isn't too far away from us. I don't think it is. I think it's actually relatively close. And then we're gonna have to somehow get some create power over here. Shouldn't be too bad actually. Okay, so here is my plan. Let me go ahead and get some cog wheels really quickly, and I have a plan of how I want this to work. So this is gonna go here like so, and what we'll go ahead and do is get it so there is a clutch on this bad boy. That's gonna allow us to go ahead and tell the machine to stop when we are at a certain point and have a certain amount of fuses, so that way we're not constantly wasting iron. That's actually a really important part of this. So let's go ahead and put the clutch in, and then I believe all I gotta do now is get a vertical gearbox, and we should be good to go as long as I can get this lined up properly, which shouldn't be too bad. So if I put this here, actually second thought, give me this vertical gearbox, and all I gotta do is do this and then rotate it so it's facing this way, and then that should be good to go as soon as I give this some power like so. That should now be crafting the fuses. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and get that into a interface. That should be relatively simple like so, and then that's going to dump that into there. And what we're gonna go ahead and do is grab ourselves a stack upgrade with some speed upgrades, and of course we're gonna hook this up. Let's also make sure that we get a detector like so, and we should be able to connect this down here because it's gonna output the redstone signal of the fuse like so, and then that's going to emit signal when the thing is, I believe, below, which is what we want. And let's say like below 2048, that should be more than enough. And then we're gonna run a cable to that, and then we're also got to run a cable to the LV interface, and then that should be fuses fully automated. I'm really hoping that this is gonna work the way I want it to. So if I grab myself some belts, we're gonna need some deployers. Actually, but you know what? I just remembered something. For the very first electrical circuit, we're gonna need, I believe, we're gonna need some sort of LV wire, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, LV cable, which requires rubber, and rubber comes from, it looks like just smelting any old slime balls on a campfire. Do I even have a campfire still? I do, but I want to try smelting some slime in a furnace here and see if that will give me rubber. There we go. We now have rubber. Beautiful. And then that's going to be really simple. We just take that and we make some of that with, I believe, some copper, and then that should make LV cables. Now we are going to want to make sure that we teach this to this real quick and then make some LV cable with that. So LV cable is relatively simple, like so. And then let's go ahead and also teach this to this, like so, and then put it into our system like so. Beautiful. Okay, what we're gonna go ahead and do is get ourselves 2 shafts, place down the belt like so, and then what we're gonna do is get some deployers, of course, because we're gonna need those guys, and place this down like so, and we should be pretty much good to go. I do want to expand the belt by 1 like so, and what we'll go ahead and do is place down a block really quickly. I guess any block will work here. So let's go ahead and place this guy down like so, and I guess we'll put a block here like so. And what we're gonna go ahead and do is grab ourselves a barrel, actually a few barrels actually. So 1 barrel here is, this is going to be our input, this is going to be our output like so. And what we'll go ahead and do is quickly grab some brass funnels. I don't think it really matters whether if it's brass or not, but I just want it to be brass because why the hell not? So brass funnel, make sure that that is exporting out of the system, and then that's importing like so. So inputs, outputs, and then what we're gonna go ahead and do is underneath we're gonna set up a entangled block, which we don't have taught to the system. So entangled blocks, those should be relatively simple to make. They're just gonna need some obsidian. Oh yeah, I forgot I exporting obsidian from the system because it was clogging up our system actually. So obsidian, go to grab those bad boys and then make yourself a entangled block. And then let's also make sure that we get the special wand as well, like so. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And what we're gonna go ahead and do is get a bunch of these guys like so. And what we're gonna do is come underneath this guy and we're gonna link these guys together. So there's that one. It's actually really hard to tell where the blocks are underneath this guy. So let's go ahead and put down another one of these like so. And let's go ahead and link these guys by shift right clicking and doing that. And then doing the same on the other side as well. And then there you go. Boom. And all we gotta do is actually run a item pipe between the two. Come this way, please. Like so. We're gonna basically whitelist and blacklist the thing that we want here, which is going to be the circuit is going to be blacklisted from being pulled out of that pipe. And then we're gonna have like an importer exporter that's gonna whitelist the circuit into this guy. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do actually as well is we're gonna place a crafter here because we're gonna have to craft the whole like pattern or whatever in this guy. So we'll figure that out in a second here. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is grab myself a bunch of LV cables. That shouldn't be that hard to get at all. A stack should be relatively fine. And what we'll do is place that in here like so. Actually, hold on. The order of these actually do matter, I believe. If we look at the circuit, it goes 1 and then 2. So it goes the LV cable and then the fuse is part of step 2. I don't have fuses automated, I don't think, or do we? No, we do. We have these guys right here that should now kick on since I brought it down below 2k. And then I believe I just need the printed logic circuits. Now, is it the logic processors or is it the non-processed version? I believe it's the non-processed version that we need. Okay, this is facing the wrong direction. Oh, you know what? Things aren't moving. That's a telltale sign actually. So I need to get rotation power up to this, which which shouldn't be terrible. At least I don't think it's going to be terrible. It might be terrible, honestly, based on my luck here. So this actually does matter which way this is spinning, unfortunately. So I do have to kind of pay attention here. So I guess, how am I going to connect you in the most sane-ish way possible? I don't know. Just figure it out, I guess. YOLO. Okay, that's going to spin that way. And then I need another vertical gearbox, like spinning this way. Is that spinning the right way? Nope, it is not spinning the right way. Okay, so that means I need one more vertical gearbox here, and that should now be spinning the right way, releasing the items from in here. And the only thing I have to worry about now is getting shaft power up here, which shouldn't be difficult. I have found a solution and it is working. Look at it. It is going and it's awesome. Okay, beautiful. Now that we've got that, what we can do is basically wait for it to come through, get that, and then come over here and make sure that the ultimate pipe upgrade that we're going to put in this guy, like so, is blacklist for the circuits like so. Now, all we got to do is hook up a import bus to our system and make sure that it's whitelisted to pick up the circuits. And then that should be that fully automated. There we go. And then make sure that's on whitelist mode. And then of course we got to turn that on by connecting it to our refined storage system like so. And then all we got to do is come over here and say, hey, you're going to basically take a logic processor. So one of these guys, printed logic processors, and you're going to make a thing. Let me make sure that's on processing mode actually. So one of these will make one of these in a crafter like so. And all we gotta do is grab ourselves a crafter from the system, and then that should in theory make us the printed circuits, which is going to be amazing. So if I put this here, this is going to need refined storage power, which honestly is not looking so hot. Actually, you know what, it's fine, because I'm about to show you guys something insane. You guys know that we have entangled blocks, right? Well, it turns out entangled blocks can mimic refined storage blocks and items, which is insane. So if I take this crafter and shift right click it and put it in this entangled block, that should now be activated, right? So if I wanted to say request like circuit, will it show up? Interesting, it doesn't work with the crafter, but it works with the exporter. That's interesting. I would have thought that would have worked, but I guess not. Okay, well, I guess the next best thing then is probably going to be to set up a, I know, basic network. Wait, did I just do patterns? Oh, I broke the block, but it gave me the pattern. That's strange. What I was gonna say is I'm just gonna set up a network system. Like literally, I know this is crazy, but it literally just works. So if I do this and then we get a network transmitter, now I'm not gonna, you know, put this a million blocks away. I'm just gonna literally just set this up like right here, and that should be fine as long as I do something like this. And now that should be online. Perfect, it is. And we should now be able to say, hey, I want to make 10 circuits really quickly. So let's make 10 of these bad boys. Boom. And that's going to now start making these circuits. Now, however, we're not quite done with this automation yet, because we are going to need some export buses here, right here on the top of this bad boy, with some of that beautiful fuses and also the LV cables. For the next circuit, we're going to need to set up some automation. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and yoink a pulverizer from over here quickly, because we're going to need to make something called, I believe, advanced alloy. So if we look at the quest book and we look at the advanced circuit, the advanced circuit needs this advanced alloy, which requires this mixed metal blend, which requires some lead dust, constantan dust, aluminum dust, and or iron dust, electrum dust, and or aluminum dust. And then there's iron dust, bronze dust, and aluminum dust. So we can choose one of those three recipes to go ahead and make really quickly, as this guy is angry at me. But let me go ahead and set this up. So this should be be relatively simple-ish to set up. And this guy is going to go in a void. There you go. Get Reckonered. And what we're going to do is come over here and we're going to set up some pulverizers. So you, and you. Let me get the third pulverizer really quickly. This one doesn't have a upgrade. Oh, no, it does. These ones don't. That's fair. So let me get the integral component parts for these guys. That should be relatively simple. And I believe I already have bronze ingots. I do. We have iron ingots, and I forget what the other one was. So if we look at the mixed metal blend, it's this last one here, bronze and aluminum, which I believe we have aluminum. We do not have aluminum. Is aluminum easy to make? I would assume it is. It's probably through essence if I had to guess. Okay, so here is my plan. Let's go ahead and break these down like so. We're gonna go ahead and put the output on the bottom and then the input on the top of this bad boy, so that way we can go ahead and set up everything else here. So this guy like that, and I'm gonna use a sequential fabricator for this because that's probably gonna be the easiest way to do this. And then we'll do that on the bottom, that on the top. Now there's no way for me to really get that down. Now I'm gonna have to probably run a cable up. That's fine, I think. So if I do something like this, we're gonna need some interfaces, of course. Let's get a few of those bad boys. I believe 5 should be enough here because we also need one for this bottom here. These guys like this, and then this guy like that. We're gonna have to run power to the back. So what I'm gonna do is something like that, and actually do it 2-hole, because we're going to want to also make sure that we can run the nitro cable down as well. So perfect. And then these guys will get connected via underneath like so. And then what we'll do is connect this here. That shouldn't be terrible. So this guy like so. And then that's all connected. Beautiful. Now we're just going to need to run a nitro cable all the way to our power. And then that should give us everything that we need for these guys. And then these guys up here will be to auto pull and push, and then that should be good to go for the iron, the aluminum, and the bronze, of course. And then once that does that, we should be on a winner here, and boom. And then that's gonna auto input into these guys like so. I don't know why this guy's not auto inputting it. Do not tell me I cannot pulverize this. I am going to be very upset if I cannot pulverize this aluminum. Are you kidding me right now? I have to use the industrial contraptions just to make this work. All right, so we need the macerator from this guy. So that means my whole plan just went out the window. I am a bit fearful for what's about to come, which is going to be the bloody freaking macerator from industrial contraptions, because that needs a whole new power system, right? So we're gonna need like coal generators from the industrial contraptions mod, or whatever it's called. I think it's called a generator, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, the generator from industrial contraptions, which requires a tin battery and an iron furnace. I'm gonna have some auto crafting to do. Okay, so here is my plan for setting this up. I'm just gonna hope that this works. Now, do you accept Eternalis fuel? I hope you do. You do not. Okay, so that's a good sign, I guess, or bad sign if you take it that way. I assume you only take coal. That is correct. So I'm thinking that should be fine, actually. All I gotta do is now dump these like so, and then that should be fine. We're just gonna need a quick and dirty EMC link like so. And once we got that now set up, all we gotta do is say, hey, let's go ahead and do that, and give me a little bit of coal like so, and then speed upgrade, and boom, you're gonna go ahead and cook a bunch of that. Let's also go ahead and make sure that you're set to round robin. So go ahead and dump coal in a bunch of these guys like so. And what we're gonna go ahead and do is run some LV cable, because I assume we're gonna need LV cable for this. Now, is there a different type of cable that I can be using for this guy? I can be using EV cables, IV cables. I guess IV cables would be nice. Oh, I need energy crystals for that, which honestly, that does not look like fun, but EV cables look relatively cheap and easy to make. So I might just try and yoink some of these real quick, and hopefully they have EMC. They do. Perfect. Take those guys and get a bunch of them like so, and we should be good to go now. And all I gotta do is connect these guys up like so, and hopefully things won't explode. Nope. no promises. And then all I gotta do, I believe, is hook this up to a simple macerator. And I'm hoping that these are not generating EV power and my macerator is going to explode or something. We need a bunch of these machine blocks, which we can make relatively simply. There we go. Beautiful. And let's put down the macerator. Let's actually put it up one more block here. So there you go. You're going to go there and you're just going to be pumped in literally a bunch of the aluminum. So let's take the aluminum and pump it in like so. And then we're going to go ahead and tell it, hey, let's go ahead and extract that bad boy. And I'm gonna like kind of like move it over to the side here so that way we can just run a cable straight down and it's not gonna be a problem, hopefully. There we go. That should be running now, and I am going to get myself a couple of watches and hopefully that this is not gonna like explode on itself or something. And now that's going even faster. We can make speed upgrades. That is a thing that we can indeed make from industrial contraptions here. Let's go ahead and put this down like so. Make sure it has a stack upgrade, and of course it's got its speed upgrades. Now it's not going to be as fast as a pulverizer, and now that we've got that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is program this to be the dust that we need. So if we look in our system and we type in the word dust, we should have all the things that we need. So we're going to need the bronze dust, which doesn't seem like it's been working because I didn't have it hooked up the whole time. That's a spare. Now with all three dusts obtained, what we're going to go ahead and do is set this up. So it's going to go iron dust on the top like so. It's then going to go ahead and go bronze in the middle and then aluminum on the bottom like so. And then that should go ahead and import all of that and start to go ahead and export all of that beautiful mixed metal dust. With that mixed metal dust, we're now going to take that and we're going to go ahead and hopefully turn it into what we need. So we're going to need to take it and turn it into the ingots, which we're going to need to do by smelting it. So I guess the best way to do that is probably going to be the redstone furnace. And thankfully, I actually have a thing right there, right? So I can just quickly and easily set this up without having to worry. So fear no more, actually. This is amazing. So if I grab some bricks really quickly, which we don't seem to have bricks taught. That's interesting. So bricks, and make sure that they're taught to our EMC table like so. And we can go ahead and take that and now make all the bricks that we would ever want like so. And we should be good to go. There we go. 2 of those. And let's make the redstone furnace, which should be relatively simple. Again, just missing some copper gears. Relatively simple. Bam and bam. I'm out of iron nuggies. Well, that's a shocker. There we go. And there we go. Quickly make one of these bad boys and boom, redstone furnace. Let's go ahead and teach this to our table like so. Go ahead and do that. And of course, go ahead and set the input and output to the top like so. And then of course, put a interface down like so and put a stack and some speed upgrades in that bad boy like so. And then all we gotta do is grab ourselves some mixed metal mixture and that should be ready to go. We already have 9 of those bad boys. What is the hold up? Bronze is the hold up. Touche. All right, we should be able to take all these upgrades and throw them in here like so, and everything should be coming in extra fast now. At least I hope it's gonna be coming in extra fast. Why is bronze dust? I see, I didn't set up the filter for these guys, so that's not really ideal. Can I get that back, please? Nope. Well, there goes my create wrench. It's in the void now. So set up that, set up this, and then set up that, and then that should be good to go. And what we're gonna go ahead and do is set these all to 64. That's what I didn't want. I didn't want it to brick itself. I might not want to do that system. I might need to use regulator upgrades. Yeah, let's set up regulator upgrades. That's gonna be the best way to handle this, I think. So let me grab my exporters like so, and then you are going to get a regulatory upgrade. And what we're gonna do is have it only import a stack at a time, so that way it's, you know, not gonna be filling up with too much garbage. And there you go. You should be all good now. So the advanced alloy is coming in. It's not coming in as fast, but I believe I saw that I can dupe this. I thought I saw I could dupe this with refined radiance. I cannot. The next one is going to be a 4 deployer setup. I've already placed down the crafter and the barrel like so. What we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to try to fit 4 deployers on this one belt. I'm really hoping I can do that. Why is that going backwards? That is not, oh, It's because I'm running it through the gearbox. Okay, so that means I'm gonna have to put another gearbox here because I need it to be going the other direction. Can I just like plop a normal gearbox here? I can. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and put down a block like so, and then place down our barrel like so. Just like the other setup, what we're going to go ahead and do is place down some deployers facing this way, of course, and this way. So 4 deployers. I am gonna need to extend the belt by 1, but that's more than reasonable. That shouldn't be too bad. So if I just put an extra belt here, that should be fine. And then we'll place down our block again, and everything will be a-okay. And the only difference of this one being, this one is going to be your engineer's processor, I believe, and then your advanced alloy, and then your fuses. So if I grab these, let me grab the advanced alloy. So advanced alloy, and then you're gonna want your fuses, and then you're gonna want your advanced engineering processors. So printed circuit engineer, this guy is going to be used in the crafting of this guy. So yeah, this one's gonna go in the first one like so, and then I guess get some stack and speed upgrades for that as well, so that way we have them. So stack and also speed upgrade, that's going to be very important here. Stack upgrade with a speed upgrade, and then you're going to get your recipe, and we're going to need some brass funnels. Now the only tricky part about this, I think, is going to be setting up the whole system to, okay, yeah, getting power to this is gonna be a pain in the backside. I think I can use a vertical gearbox here, but I might be wrong. Now I did lose my create wrench, but thankfully we have an EMC, so it's fine. Let's go ahead and get some vertical gearboxes. That should be fine. And if I put this here, that should start to spin, but it's not spinning because it's not facing the right direction. But there we go. That's also still not facing the right direction. So if I grab vertical gearboxes, actually, you know, I should be able to just do this. As jank as it is, I know it works, right? So that's getting that rotation. Beautiful. Just what I want to see. We're gonna need to give this some of that beautiful pokey bit stuff. And now I'm going to get a basic circuit. So let me grab those from in here. So basic circuit, I feel like they should be, oh, they're called electronic circuits, not basic circuits. So if I take this and do this, now it's not set up down at the bottom, but this should work. There we go. Now all I gotta do is go downstairs and set up the entangled blocks to go ahead and do their thing. Now I am gonna set this up right underneath here. Now I actually do need to get power to this. That's gonna be through there, so that should be fine actually. So if I do something like this and we do our entangled wand, and we make sure that it's linked here, this one to this one, and then this one to this one, of course. And we got to make sure that we can go ahead and basically item pipe from here to here like so. And let's also make sure that you are set up properly. So you're going to be export there. Ooh, never mind. I can just set up another entangled block and that should be fine. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. So if I do this, make sure that this is set to blacklist and set this to the nearest first, and then set the advanced circuit like so. That should be good enough. Now I'm going to set up another entangled block, let's say like right here. And this guy is going to get the importer that we need for importing the advanced circuits. Oh my god, this is so complicated. So there we go. Let's make sure that's actually set to the right one. It is. And then you're going to be set to, you guessed it, whitelist the advanced circuits. Beautiful. And it's going to come over here and be placed in here like so with a cable connected, and we should now be able to make advanced circuits relatively easily. Unfortunately guys, we're out of time for today's episode of Project Sacrifice. With that being said, if you guys did enjoy today's episode, please do me a huge favor, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, ding dong that notification bell, become a part of the Council of Elder. As always guys, I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna leave you till next time, where we're hopefully gonna be automating the Iridium circuits. Bye-bye.